I thought I was going to marry the love of my life. That sounds dramatic, but at the time, it was true. My name is Liam Foster. I was 27. Tessa was 26. We had been together for 4 years, engaged for almost one, and until the night she asked me for a break. I truly believed we were building a future together. We met at a friend's birthday party. Nothing cinematic, no slow-motion moment, no dramatic music, just two people standing near the kitchen, laughing about how bad the playlist was. Tessa was confident, funny, a little sarcastic, the kind of woman who could enter a room and immediately make people notice her. I liked that about her. She liked that I was steady. At least, that's what she used to say. We started dating quickly, moved in together after a year. And for a while, life felt simple. I worked as a project manager for a tech company. She worked as a freelance graphic designer. Our schedules matched well. We cooked together, split bills, traveled when we could, spent Sundays pretending to be responsible adults while eating takeout on the couch. It wasn't glamorous, but it was ours. Last year, I proposed. Nothing huge. No crowd. No viral video. Just dinner at home. Candles. Pasta. Her favorite wine. I asked her while we were sitting on the living room floor because the table was covered in laundry. She cried, hugged me, said yes before I even finished the sentence. That night, we started planning everything. A fall wedding. Small guest list. A venue by the lake. Nothing too expensive. Nothing too stressful. Just us. And the people who mattered. For the first few months, Tessa was excited. Very excited. She sent me Pinterest boards, wedding dress ideas, color palettes, flower arrangements. She asked if I preferred tulips or roses. I didn't know the difference, but I answered anyway. Then slowly, something changed. Not all at once, just little things. She stopped bringing up wedding plans. If I asked about bridesmaids, she'd say, still thinking. If I asked about the cake, there's time. Music? Later. Guest list? We don't need to rush. At first, I believed her. Wedding planning is stressful. Freelance work was unpredictable. Maybe she felt overwhelmed. So I backed off. I told myself patience was love. But deep down, I could feel her pulling away. She started spending more time on her phone, smiling at messages, turning the screen slightly when I walked by. Not enough to accuse her, just enough to notice. Then she started canceling plans. Work deadline. Mom needs help. I'm tired. I'm not feeling social tonight. Every excuse sounded reasonable. But together, they formed a pattern. I just didn't want to see it. The first real warning happened at a game night with friends. Someone suggested one of those ridiculous question games. The kind where everyone answers fast and pretends not to judge. People laughed, drank, answered stupid questions. Then someone asked, if you could relive one past relationship, which one would it be? Without even thinking, Tessa said, Dylan. The room went quiet. Dylan, her college ex, the guy who cheated on her, the guy she once described as the worst mistake of her 20s. She immediately laughed. Awkwardly. I mean, not like that. Just, he was a big part of my past. Nobody knew what to say. I smiled because that's what people do when they're embarrassed in public. But something inside me shifted. Later that night, after everyone left, I asked her about it. Why Dylan? She rolled her eyes. It was a dumb game, Liam. You answered pretty fast. Because I panicked. Did you mean it? She sighed. You're overthinking. Maybe I was. Maybe I was finally noticing. After that, her distance became impossible to ignore. She'd sit beside me physically, but feel miles away emotionally. I'd talk about the wedding, and she'd stare at her phone. I'd ask if something was wrong, and she'd smile too quickly. No, everything's fine. Everything was not fine. Then came Friday, the night everything broke. I got home early from work. I remember feeling excited. I had picked up groceries. Thought we'd cook dinner, watch a movie, maybe reconnect. When I opened the door, the house felt wrong. Quiet, too quiet. Tessa sat on the couch with her laptop open, but she wasn't typing. She was just staring at the screen. Hey, I smiled. I'm home early. She looked up. Instead of happy, she looked startled. You're early, like I'd interrupted something. I put the groceries down. Yeah, thought we could make dinner. She closed her laptop slowly. Liam, my stomach dropped, because everyone knows that tone. The tone people use before saying something they rehearsed. There's something I need to talk to you about. I sat across from her, trying to stay calm. What is it? She looked down at her hands, then finally said, I've been thinking about us. Silence. And about Dylan. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was absurd. Dylan. She nodded. I think I need some time. For what? She swallowed. To see if there's still something there. The room became completely still. I stared at her, certain I had misunderstood. You want time? To see if you still have feelings for your ex? It's not like that. It sounded exactly like that. She leaned forward. I just need clarity. That word. Clarity. People use it when they want permission to hurt you without feeling guilty. We're engaged, Tessa. I know. We're planning a wedding. I know. And you want to take a break? So you can explore things with Dylan? She looked frustrated. You're making it sound worse than it is. How should I make it sound? She inhaled sharply. I don't want to enter a marriage with doubts. There it was. Doubts. After 4 years. After a proposal. After choosing venues and colors and invitations. Doubts. I asked the only question that mattered. And what am I supposed to do during this break? She looked almost relieved, like we'd reached the reasonable part of her plan. You can think about us too. I stared at her. So you date Dylan. And I sit here thinking about us. She winced. I wouldn't call it dating. What would you call it? She didn't answer, because there was no softer word, not an honest one. Then she said something that changed how I saw her forever. If it doesn't work out, I'll come back. I actually went cold. Not angry. Cold. Because in that moment, I understood. She didn't think she was ending us. She thought she was placing me on hold. Like a reservation. Like a backup plan. Like something she could return to if her first choice disappointed her. I stood slowly. She looked nervous. Liam. I nodded. Take your break. She blinked. What? Take it. I don't want us to end. You already ended us. No, I didn't. Yes. I looked directly at her. You just asked me to wait while you decide whether I'm good enough. Her eyes filled with tears. That's not fair. No. I said quietly. What's not fair is thinking I'd accept that. She packed a bag that night. Said she'd stay at her mother's. So we could talk in a few days. Said this didn't have to be permanent. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I didn't fight. I simply watched her leave. The front door closed behind her. And for a few minutes, I stood in the silence of the house we were supposed to build a marriage inside. Then I took off my engagement ring, placed it on the kitchen counter, and called my best friend Noah. He answered on the second ring. What's up? I looked around the house, at the wedding magazines, the half-packed future, the life I almost gave to someone who saw me as an option. Then I said, I need help packing, because if Tessa wanted space, I was about to give her more than she ever imagined. Noah arrived 20 minutes later carrying 2 pizzas. He took one look at my face, then at the engagement ring sitting on the counter. What happened? I told him everything. The game night. Dylan. The break. The part where she'd come back if things didn't work out. He stayed quiet until I finished. Then he laughed. Not because it was funny, because he couldn't believe anyone could actually say something like that. So, he leaned back. She seriously expects you to wait while she dates another guy? Apparently. He shook his head. Dude, you're not plan B. That sentence hit me harder than I expected. Because somewhere deep inside, I had almost started wondering if I was overreacting. I wasn't. Noah grabbed another slice of pizza. So, what's the plan? I looked around the living room. Our house. He corrected me immediately. Your house. He was right. The mortgage was in my name. The down payment had come from my savings. Every legal document listed only one owner. Tessa loved decorating it. She called it our dream home. But legally, it was mine. I think I'm going to sell it. Noah looked surprised. Already? Why not? He thought for a second, then nodded. Actually, yeah. Why stay surrounded by memories? The next Monday, I called a real estate agent. Her name was Ashley. She walked through the property, making notes. This neighborhood is moving fast. How fast? If you price it correctly, we could have offers within a week. Perfect. Exactly what I wanted. A clean break. No waiting. No limbo. No chance for Tessa to walk back in pretending nothing had happened. That afternoon, I started packing. Not my things. Hers. Every sweater. Every pair of shoes, every makeup bag, every framed photo she'd left behind. I folded everything carefully. No anger, no revenge, just organization. Noah watched me tape another box shut. You know, this is way calmer than I expected. I smiled. I'm done being emotional. I've got work to do. We packed until midnight. The next morning, I hired a moving company. The driver asked, "Where are these going?" I handed him an address. Her mother's house. Every single box. Every single belonging. Everything she'd left behind. Before the truck pulled away, I added one small envelope. Inside was a single sentence. Your things are where you chose to be. Nothing more. No insults. No accusations. No begging. Just the truth. 2 days later, my phone rang. Tessa. I let it ring. She called again. Then again. Finally, she texted. What are you doing? I answered. Moving on. Almost immediately, she called again. This time I answered. Liam. She already sounded upset. My mom says all my stuff is here. Yes. Why? You said you needed space. I didn't mean this. What did you mean? Silence. I thought we talked first. We are talking. You're acting like it's over. It is. She actually sounded shocked. But I only wanted time. No. You wanted options. Liam, you wanted to see if Dylan made you happier. She sighed. You're twisting everything. Am I? She didn't answer. Instead, she asked, Are you really giving up on 4 years together? I looked around the living room. Half the furniture was already wrapped. Wedding magazines sat inside trash bags. Our engagement photos had been taken off the walls. I'm not giving up. You already did. She started crying. I thought you'd fight for me. That sentence told me everything. She had expected tears, arguments, grand romantic speeches. She wanted proof that I loved her enough to wait. Instead, I gave her consequences. No, I said quietly. I fought for us every day for 4 years. I'm just not fighting against another man for my own fiancée. Silence. Then, what if I realize you're the one I really want? I close my eyes. There it is. What? The part where you think you'll always have me. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. She whispered. I made a mistake. No. You made a choice. And choices have consequences. I ended the call, then blocked her number. Not because I hated her, because every conversation pulled me backward, and I had already decided I was only walking forward. The following Friday, Ashley called. We got 3 offers. What? 3? Already? She laughed. I told you. One offer was even above the asking price. I accepted it that afternoon. The closing was scheduled for the following month. I signed every document without hesitation. Then, I did something I've been thinking about for almost a year. I applied for a senior position at our company's San Francisco office. It had always felt too risky before. Too far away. Too different. Now, there was nothing holding me back. 3 days later, my manager called me into his office. He smiled before I even sat down. Congratulations. For what? He slid an envelope across the desk. They want you in California. A promotion. A significant raise. Company paid, relocation. Everything happened so fast. It almost didn't feel real. That evening, I stood alone in the empty living room. The house echoed now. Almost everything had been packed. Almost everything. Then my phone buzzed. A message from a mutual friend. I looked at the message, then around the empty house. And instead of feeling jealous, instead of feeling angry, I smiled. Because for the first time since she asked for that break, I realized something. She thought she was exploring another future. She had no idea. I had already started building a better one. The sale of the house moved quickly, much faster than anyone expected. Within 3 weeks, everything was signed. The money hit my account. The movers packed the last of my furniture. And just like that, the place where I'd imagined married life belonged to someone else. Noah helped me load the final boxes into the moving truck. He looked around the empty living room. Feels weird. Yeah. You okay? I took one last look around. I thought I'd be sad. But honestly, I just feel lighter. He smiled. That's usually how you know you're making the right decision. 2 days later, I landed in San Francisco. New apartment. New office. New city. Nobody there knew Tessa. Nobody knew Dylan. Nobody knew the story. For the first time in years, I wasn't constantly surrounded by memories. I was simply Liam. The promotion turned out to be even better than I'd imagined. Bigger projects, better clients, more responsibility. The kind of work I'd always wanted. Instead of spending evenings wondering what Tessa was doing, I spent them exploring a new city, trying new restaurants, walking along the waterfront, actually enjoying my own company. 3 weeks after moving, Sarah called. She'd been friends with both of us for years. You disappeared. I moved. I noticed. She laughed. So, you've probably heard. Heard what? Tessa and Dylan. I waited. They're officially together. I wasn't surprised. Not really. I figured. Sarah hesitated. But, what? It's not exactly how she expected. I frowned. What do you mean? She sighed. I don't think Dylan wants another serious relationship. Interesting. Apparently, the man worth risking a 4-year engagement for wasn't interested in replacing it. Sarah continued. They've been arguing. Already. Apparently, he doesn't like commitment. I almost laughed. The irony was unbelievable. She'd left the man ready to marry her for the man who couldn't even promise exclusivity. Then Sarah added something unexpected. Tessa keeps asking about you. That caught my attention. What does she ask? If you're dating, if you've moved on, if anyone's seen you. I shook my head. That's none of her business anymore. I know, but she's asking everyone. A few days later, Noah called. You busy? Just got home. You should check Instagram. I deleted it. Oh, smart. What happened? He laughed. Tessa made a post. I wasn't interested. What about it? She wrote something about how you try not to laugh. Sometimes you have to lose yourself before finding yourself. I smiled. Sounds deep. It gets better. What? Half the comments think she's talking about you. I laughed for the first time in weeks. And people aren't exactly taking her side. Apparently, our mutual friends had started putting the pieces together. The engagement ended. She immediately started dating Dylan. I suddenly moved across the country. The timeline wasn't difficult to understand. 4 months. People had only heard her version. Now, they were comparing it to reality. Sarah called again the following weekend. This is getting messy. What happened now? Dylan still talks to other women. I wasn't surprised. He always did. Exactly. She sighed. Tessa thought she'd changed him. People often believe they're the exception, until reality reminds them. They're not. About a month after I moved, my phone buzzed with an email. Not blocked, because she'd used another address. The subject line simply read, "Can we please talk?" I opened it. I think we've both had time to think. Things aren't what I expected. Maybe we rushed everything. I'd really like to see you when you're back in town. There it was. Exactly what I predicted. The backup plan. Except, she'd forgotten one important detail. Backup plans only work if they stay where you left them. I didn't. I closed the email. Didn't reply. Didn't even archive it. Just deleted it. That evening, I walked out onto my apartment balcony. The San Francisco skyline stretched across the horizon. The ocean breeze was cold, different, unfamiliar, and somehow, it felt more like home than the house I'd almost shared with Tessa. Then my phone rang. Daniel, my new regional director. Liam, how are you settling in? Honestly, better every day. He laughed. Good, because I got another opportunity. What kind? He paused. The executive team noticed your work. I smiled. Already, they're talking about fast-tracking you into senior leadership. I looked out over the city lights. Just 6 weeks earlier, I've been begging my fiancée to explain why she wanted to test another relationship. Now, my entire life looked different. Not because she'd left, because I'd refused to wait. The next morning, Sarah sent me one final message. You know what's ironic? Tessa keeps telling everyone she thought you'd fight for her. I stared at the screen for several seconds, then smiled. She never understood. I did fight. I fought for my dignity. I fought for my future. And sometimes, walking away is the strongest fight you'll ever win. What I didn't know was that 3 months later, Tessa would show up at my new office without warning. And this time, she wasn't coming to ask for another break. She was coming because Dylan had already made his choice. The next morning, Sarah sent me one final message. You know what's ironic? Tessa keeps telling everyone she thought you'd fight for her. I stared at the screen for several seconds, then smiled. She never understood. I did fight. I fought for my dignity. I fought for my future. And sometimes, walking away is the strongest fight you'll ever win. Well, I didn't know was that 3 months later, Tessa would show up at my new office without warning. And this time, she wasn't coming to ask for another break. She was coming because Dylan had already made his choice. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I just finished presenting a quarterly report to our executive team. Daniel stopped me outside the conference room. Great work. Thanks. I wasn't exaggerating. What do you mean? They're talking about promoting you again. I laughed. I've only been here 3 months. Exactly. He smiled. Keep doing what you're doing. As I walked back toward my office, my assistant stood up. Liam? Yeah. There's someone waiting for you. I don't have another meeting. She said. My assistant hesitated. She's your fiancée. My stomach dropped. Former. She looked confused. Sorry. I looked through the glass waiting area, and there she was. Tessa. She looked exactly the same. Except, she seemed smaller somehow. Less confident. The moment she saw me, she stood. Her eyes immediately filled with tears. Liam. I stayed where I was. What are you doing here? I needed to see you. How did you find me? She looked away. Sarah told Megan. Megan told Mom. Mom found your company online. So, half a dozen people had been involved in tracking me down. Fantastic. I glanced toward my assistant. It's okay. I'll handle this. She quietly disappeared. Tessa took one hesitant step forward. You look good. So do you. It wasn't true. She looked exhausted. Dark circles under her eyes. No engagement ring. No confidence. Just regret. I know you're busy. I am. Can we talk? I checked my watch. 10 minutes. She nodded quickly. That's all I need. We walked to a small cafe across the street. Neither of us spoke until our coffee arrived. Finally, she whispered, I made the biggest mistake of my life. I looked at her calmly. What happened? She laughed bitterly. You already know. Dylan. She nodded. He never wanted a relationship. I figured. He told me. She looked down into her cup. He only agreed to see where things went because I was the one who reached out. Silence. He said if I was willing to leave my fiancé, I'd eventually leave him too. The irony almost hurt. The man she'd risked everything for didn't trust her because of the way she'd chosen him. He was right. She looked surprised. What if someone betrays one relationship to start another? The new relationship starts with doubt. She slowly nodded. I know that now. Another silence. Then she reached into her purse, pulled out the engagement ring. I kept it. She gently placed it on the table. I was hoping. No. I hadn't even let her finish. She blinked. You don't even know what I was going to ask. I do. You were hoping we could try again. Tears rolled down her face. Yes. I pushed the ring back toward her. I don't want it. You bought it. I gave it to someone I wanted to marry. That person doesn't exist anymore. She cried quietly. I was confused. No. You were certain. What? You were certain enough to risk losing me. She covered her face. I thought you'd still be here. I know. I thought. You'd wait. There it is. She looked at me. The real problem. She frowned. What do you mean? You never thought I had a choice. You assumed I'd still be standing exactly where you left me. She whispered. I loved you. I believe you. She looked hopeful. Really? Yes. I think you love me. But not enough. Her shoulders dropped. Love isn't asking someone to wait while you compare them to another person. It's choosing them. Every word landed harder than the last. Because deep down, she already knew they were true. She wiped her eyes. I've been miserable. I'm sorry. I deserve that. You do. She gave a small, painful smile. I thought losing you would make me realize you were the one. And it did. I nodded. But realizing it late doesn't change anything. For several moments, neither of us spoke. Then she quietly asked, Is there someone else? I smiled softly. No. Then why not us? I leaned back. Because I finally learned something. What? I'd rather be alone than be someone's second choice. She closed her eyes. I hate that I did this. I know. I'd do anything to fix it. No, you wouldn't. She looked confused. What do you mean? I looked directly at her. The one thing that would have fixed this was never asking for that break in the first place. Silence. Complete silence. She understood. Some mistakes don't end relationships because they're unforgivable. They end them because they reveal something you can never unknow. She slowly picked up the ring, held it tightly in her hand. I really thought we'd get married. So did I. That was the saddest part. Neither of us had been lying when we imagined our future. We'd simply stopped imagining the same one. As we stood to leave, she asked one final question. Will you ever forgive me? I thought about it carefully, then answered honestly. Probably. Her eyes brightened slightly. But forgiveness, I smiled sadly, isn't an invitation. She nodded, because for the first time, she wasn't hearing what she wanted. She was hearing the truth. As she walked away, I honestly believed that was the last time I'd ever see her. I was wrong, because 2 weeks later, a mutual friend accidentally revealed the real reason Tessa had come looking for me, and it had nothing to do with love. As she walked away, I honestly believed that was the last time I'd ever see her. I was wrong, because 2 weeks later, a mutual friend accidentally revealed the real reason Tessa had come looking for me, and it had nothing to do with love. I had almost stopped thinking about her. Work kept me busy. The promotion meant longer hours, bigger clients, more responsibility. For the first time in years, my future depended entirely on my own decisions, not someone else's. Then, one Saturday morning, my phone rang. Sarah, hey, you busy? Not really. She sounded uncomfortable. I need to tell you something. What happened? A long pause. I ran into Megan yesterday, Tessa's younger sister. What about her? She thought you already knew. Knew what? Sarah sighed. Liam, Tessa didn't come to California just because she missed you. I stayed quiet. Then why? Because she found out you sold the house. I frowned. So, there was money left after paying the mortgage. Yeah. And Sarah hesitated again. She thought half of it belonged to her. I almost laughed. What? She honestly believed you'd give her part of the equity. The silence that followed wasn't shock. It was disappointment. Because somehow, after everything, she still believed she was entitled to something we'd built together. Sarah continued. Apparently, after Dylan ended things, she realized she couldn't afford the apartment she'd rented. So she moved back in with her mom. And then she found out you'd sold the house. I leaned back in my chair. So, she thought getting back together, Sarah finished the sentence for me, would solve a lot of problems. There it was. Not romance. Not regret. Convenience. Again, I thanked Sarah and ended the call. About an hour later, Noah texted me. Call me. The second I answered, he burst out laughing. You'll never believe this. Try me. I ran into Dylan. That surprised me. What did he say? He apologized. For what? For existing. I laughed. No, seriously. He actually said, I had no idea she was planning to leave you. I frowned. What? He said she told him the engagement was basically over before she reached out. Interesting. Very interesting. So she lied to him too? Apparently. Noah continued. Dylan said he only found out the truth after one of your mutual friends asked him. So, was she worth ending an engagement over? He apparently stood there completely confused, because he'd never known there was still an engagement when Tessa contacted him. In other words, she hadn't just betrayed me. She'd manipulated him too. Noah sighed. He broke things off the next day. That explained everything. Not because Dylan suddenly respected me, because he realized their relationship had started with dishonesty. And nobody wants to build a future on it. A few days later, I received an email from Tessa's mother. Not Tessa, her mother. The subject line read, Please read. Against my better judgment. I opened it. Liam, I know Tessa hurt you. She's suffering terribly. People make mistakes. I hope you'll find it in your heart to give her another chance. Then came the sentence that made me close the laptop. She knows now that you're the better man. The better man. Not the man she loved. The better option. Even her own mother framed it as a comparison. Exactly the problem from the beginning. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded the email to Noah. His response came 30 seconds later. They still don't get it. No, they didn't. Because this had never been about me. I didn't beat Dylan. I simply refused to forget. Another month passed. Then Sarah invited me to a mutual friend's wedding, back in my hometown. At first, I declined. Too many memories, too many questions. Then I changed my mind, not because I wanted to prove anything, because I refused to let old pain decide where I could or couldn't go. The wedding was beautiful, simple, outdoor ceremony, perfect weather. I spent most of the evening talking to old friends, people I hadn't seen in years. Then, across the reception hall, I saw Tessa. She saw me at the exact same moment. She looked surprised, almost hopeful, but this time, she didn't walk toward me. She simply watched from a distance. After a while, Megan approached instead. Hi. She looked embarrassed. I just wanted to say, I'm really sorry. You don't have to apologize. I know, but I watched everything happen. She looked down, and I should have told my sister she was making the biggest mistake of her life. I smiled politely. That wasn't your responsibility. She nodded. I still wish I had. Before walking away, she quietly added, she still thinks you'll change your mind. I looked across the room. Tessa was laughing with a group of people, but every few seconds, she glanced in my direction, still waiting, still hoping, still believing time could undo choices. It couldn't. As the reception ended, I walked toward the parking lot. Halfway there, I heard footsteps behind me. Liam. I turned around. Tessa stopped a few feet away. I don't want anything. I stayed silent. I just need to know one thing. What? She looked directly into my eyes. If Dylan had never existed, would we be married right now? I answered without hesitation. Yes. A tear rolled down her cheek. I knew it. Then I said the sentence she'd probably remember for the rest of her life. But Dylan wasn't the reason we ended. She frowned. What? You were. Silence. If it hadn't been Dylan, it would have been someone else. Because the real problem wasn't your ex. It was that you believed there might be someone better than the person you'd already promised forever. She couldn't argue, because deep down, she knew it was true. I got in my car, started the engine, and drove away, watching her grow smaller in the rearview mirror. I honestly believed that was finally the end, until 6 months later, when I met someone who had absolutely no interest in making me compete for her love. And that was when I finally understood what a healthy relationship was supposed to feel like. Looking back, I don't hate the night Tessa asked for a break anymore. At the time, it felt like the worst day of my life. Now, I realize it was the day I stopped begging someone to choose me and started choosing myself. Because the right person will never ask you to wait while they see if someone else is better. They'll already know, and if they don't, walk away. Someone who truly wants a future with you will never risk losing it just to see what else is out there. Almost 2 years passed. Life became peaceful. Not perfect, peaceful. There was a difference. Work continued to grow. I was promoted to regional director before my 30th birthday. The small apartment I'd rented after moving to California became a condo overlooking the bay. Every morning I drank coffee on the balcony before work. Sometimes I'd stop and think about the old house. The one Tessa and I almost turned into a home. Instead of feeling sadness, I felt gratitude, because losing that future had made room for a better one. Claire and I moved slowly. Neither of us rushed. There were no games, no tests, no pretending to be someone else. One evening, almost a year after we started dating, we were making dinner together. I accidentally burned the garlic bread, completely ruined it. I looked at the smoking tray and sighed. Well, dinner's half dead. Claire laughed so hard, she almost dropped the pasta. We'll order pizza. That was it. No criticism. No passive-aggressive comments. No wondering if someone else would have done better. Just pizza. It sounds insignificant, but after my relationship with Tessa, it felt extraordinary. Because peace isn't boring. Peace is safe. A few months later, Noah came to visit again. We were sitting on my balcony watching the sunset when he suddenly asked, "Do you ever think about her?" I consider the question honestly. Sometimes. "Do you miss her?" I smiled. "I miss who I thought she was." He nodded. "That's different." "It is. The woman I wanted to marry. She never actually existed. I was in love with the future I imagined, not the reality standing in front of me." Noah raised his coffee cup. "Congratulations." "For what?" "For finally figuring that out." About 3 weeks later, My phone buzzed with a message from Sarah. Guess who's engaged? I smiled. You? She laughed. No, Tessa. That surprised me. Really? Yeah, to a guy named Ryan. She sent a photo. Tessa looked happy, genuinely happy. Not the exaggerated happiness people post online. Just calm. The man beside her smiled the same way. Comfortably. Naturally. I stared at the picture for a few seconds, then typed, "Good for her." And I meant it. Sarah replied almost immediately. "She talks about you sometimes." I hesitated. What does she say? Another message appeared. "She tells people losing you forced her to become the person she should have been years earlier." I looked out toward the ocean. Sometimes, losing someone isn't punishment. It's the lesson. That evening I showed Claire the picture. She smiled. "I'm glad. So am I." "You know," she leaned against my shoulder. "I think both of you ended up exactly where you were supposed to." Maybe she was right. Tessa needed to learn that love isn't about comparing people. I needed to learn that self-respect matters more than holding on to someone who isn't sure about you. Neither lesson would have happened if we'd stayed together. Several months later, Claire and I took a weekend trip to the mountains. On the final evening, we sat beside a quiet lake, the same kind of place where Tessa and I had once planned together. Claire looked across the water. "It's beautiful." "It is." She smiled at me. "I've been thinking, oh, I don't care where we get married someday, as long as it's you." I laughed. "You planning something?" She shrugged. "Maybe." I reached into my jacket. She looked confused. "What are you doing?" I smiled. "I've been carrying something around for 3 weeks." Her eyes widened. "No." I nodded. "This time, I don't want to wait." I got down on one knee, held out a small velvet box. "Claire, you've never made me question my place in your life. You've never made me compete. You've never asked me to become someone else. You've simply loved me. So, will you marry me?" She started crying before I even finished. "Yes. Of course, yes." She hugged me so hard we both almost fell into the pool. As I slipped the ring onto her finger, I realized something. The first time I proposed, I was hoping someone would choose me forever. The second time, I already knew she had, and that made all the difference. People often think the biggest victory after heartbreak is getting your ex back. It isn't. The biggest victory is reaching the point where you no longer want them back. Not because you're angry, because you found something healthier, something quieter, something real. If Tessa had never asked for that break, I'd probably be living a life where every disagreement made me wonder if I was still with. Instead, I wake up every morning beside someone who has never made me question. Looking back, I don't see the end of my engagement as the moment my life fell apart. I see it as the day my real life finally began. Because the person you're meant to spend forever with will never ask you to wait while they see if forever might exist somewhere else.